Hey everybody, Dr. Hagmeyer here, and in today's short video I want to share with you another damaging food you could be eating if you have celiac disease or if you've been tested and you tested positive for a gluten sensitivity. I recently started working with a patient from Europe and she emailed me this great question. I'm sure there are many people out there wondering the same thing, and so I thought it'd be a good idea for us to actually just shoot a video on this. And one of the questions that she asked me was, can I continue supplementing my diet with brewer's yeast? Okay, so at a glance that seems like a harmless enough question, right? Brewer's yeast contains proteins, it's high in different kinds of B vitamins, it's got chromium in it which can actually help stabilize blood sugar. All of these things are important to address when you either have a leaky gut, irritable bowel syndrome, or an inflammatory bowel disorder, okay? Things like Crohn's disease or ulcerative colitis, or even chronic diarrhea. But either way, it seems that brewer's yeast or nutritional yeast would be a good supplement, right? But the response that I gave to her was no, you do not want to continue consuming anything with yeast in it if you have a gluten sensitivity. And here's why. If you have a known gluten sensitivity, or you have celiac disease, or you have diarrhea, or you have vomiting of no known cause, then you're going to want to eliminate yeast from your diet or from supplements because of the potential of something called cross-reactivity. In fact, based on the research by Aristo Vigidani, he's a PhD, he's an immunologist at Cyrex Labs, he confirms the problems of yeast and cross-reactivity for many of these individuals. So again, this is another reason why I'm so against the so-called gluten-free cookies and these gluten-free cereals and virtually the billion-dollar-a-year food industry that literally has and continues to mislead many people that have a gluten sensitivity or cross-reactivity. So if you don't know what cross-reactivity is, then in a nutshell, it's when the amino acid sequence of a protein structure is similar enough to the amino acid sequence of gluten. And because the sequences are similar enough, your body thinks it's gluten, it begins to make antibodies, and now these antibodies and this immune system's response can go on to cause many different problems within our bodies. So in this case, when we're talking about brewer's yeast, the sequence of amino acids found in the brewer's yeast is virtually similar enough to the amino acids found in gluten. And again, with our new understanding of cross-reactivity, this is also perhaps the reason why even after embarking on a gluten-free diet and giving up those traditional sources of gluten, you haven't noticed much of a difference, or you might be saying, well, it worked for a friend of mine, but it didn't work for me, so I'm going to go back to eating all those gluten-containing foods. And so I want to really encourage you, don't do that, okay? Here is what I have to say. It's not that a gluten-free diet doesn't work or didn't work for you or it wasn't beneficial to you. It was really more or less the application of the diet. And in your particular case, this is why it's important that you work with a doctor who really understands this and who can dig just a little bit deeper beyond just the gluten sensitivity understanding, okay? So again, this is that cross-reactive component that might be missing. So in closing today's video, I want to leave you with a couple of takeaways. Number one, people with gluten sensitivity or celiac disease, they need to be aware of the many cross-reactive foods that can pose a problem, okay? Brewer's yeast, baker's yeast, these are cross-reactive foods for gluten-sensitive individuals, and if you suffer with gastrointestinal irritation, this could be a potential problem. Here's the thing, eating yeast, again, brewer's yeast, baker's yeast, nutritional yeast, whether it comes from a dietary supplement, baby formula, gluten-free beer, gluten-free bread products, they can all cause your body to create these gluten antibodies. So it's a bi-directional system, meaning this, is that you can still cause damage to the intestines despite having done a great job of eliminating gluten, okay? But if you're still eating these cross-reactive foods that are capable of causing damage, then the scientific research is very clear. You're going to continue to get worse. The other thing that we know that scientific research tells us is that many people who are diagnosed with Crohn's disease or ulcerative colitis, they make antibodies against yeast. And so one of the ways Crohn's and ulcerative colitis is actually diagnosed is by a test that is called anti-Saccharomyces antibodies. So this is a test that basically looks at antibodies against this yeast. So again, that's a big problem for people. So we know again that there's this cross-reactive component between these cross-reactive foods like corn and milk and dairy and this yeast, and people that have irritable bowel syndrome, or people that have celiac disease, or people that have ulcerative colitis. Okay, it was once thought that people with Crohn's and ulcerative colitis, they didn't have sensitivity to yeast, but we clearly now know that they do, okay? So if you haven't already downloaded my Hidden Sources of Gluten guide, you can do that by filling out your name, fill out your email in the form that you'll see on this page. This is a free guide. It'll be sent to you in an email. It'll show you the many places that you could be unknowingly ingesting gluten. And in my next video, I'm going to be sharing with you some of the other important aspects of understanding gluten, some issues related to cross-reactivity, testing for these cross-reactive foods. If you haven't already visited my website, drhagmeyer.com, again, there's over 900 different articles and videos and recipes that are available to you as a resource. Okay, so take advantage of that. Hope you the best and wish you the best for your health. Take care.